All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Black Women Self Care Bundle Self Care Roundtable. My name is Samantha Gregory. I'm one of the co hosts of the Roundtable and the Black Women Self Care Bundle. And we are so happy to see you here, being with us so that we can have this discussion about what self care means to Black women specifically. And I'm joined by this amazing group of women who have come together to bring you their resources, their expertise, and we are excited to have you watching us, joining us, and being a part of this conversation. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Tiffany Mimms, my co-host and our co-collaborator for this bundle. Hey, Tiffany.
Well, hi, Samantha. Hey, ladies. So excited to be here. I'm Dr. Tiffany Mimms. I'm the founder of the Rosetta Center for Counseling and Wellness. I'm a psychologist and a life coach for professional busy Black women. And, I was talking earlier with the women on the call about just how much this experience means to me. So, you know, people can be a little bit, kind of dismissive of these self-care days or awareness months and things like that. But I just think that anything that is a reminder, anything that gives us an opportunity to pause and think about our self-care, because we do that so much for everyone else. So if it's a day that someone made up on a calendar that says it's International Self-Care Day, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to celebrate that, and I'm going to include as many people in that conversation and that experience as possible. So that's really, why I'm here, and one of the reasons why Samantha and I collaborated to bring together a group of other amazing Black women who also share this commitment towards self-care. And so, with that, I want to turn this over to other folks in the room. And so, ladies, if you can all introduce yourselves and share about what international self care means for you and your work. And Dr. Tonia, you're next on my screen, so I will go to you.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay. Okay. So, I thought about that question and what self care means to me is when I can look at a reflection of myself in the mirror and not be afraid. And I say that because, I believe that we owe it to our ancestors to step fully and step present into who we are because we have been through so much. Our people have inherited so much trauma, and we become more familiar with that. So, the evidence of it is me taking care of my soul first. And even if I look in the mirror and it scares me, that means that it's an awareness that there's more work to be done. So, self care is like holistically taking care of my soul first. Because if I take care of me, it allows me to take care of others.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you so much. So much. Now, listen, for those of you that are watching live, the chat is open. And so please share your thoughts, your comments, points of resonance as we are talking. And so this is interesting transition. So, Dr. Tanya, you talked about taking care of the soul. So I'm going to toss this over to Chioko, who has a lot to say about the soul in self care.
Yeah, I always have a lot to say. Hi, everyone. I am Chioko Juliet Grevious, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Sacramento. I'm also a PhD student in clinical psychology, so I'm in my dissertation phase. So maybe the next time we talk, I'll be Dr. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. And I'm also the founder of Grounded Roots Therapy Collective. And my work centers on helping, guiding, being a Sherpa to Black women, my folks who are in communities that have been created by systems of oppression. I have saying marginalized is it just kind of puts a lot of the blame on us, it seems like. And I work with a lot of families that are healing from trauma by reconnecting with themselves and our stories in our communities. And with that, I created the Soul Story Journal and the Soul Story Practice, where it helps people understand that healing isn't about becoming someone new, It's about remembering who we were before the world told us who we had to be. So I am very honored to be a part of this. Dr. Mimms was my supervisor as an associate when I was getting my hours, and I also rent space in her lovely building. And so I think she might be upstairs, I'm not sure. But when we talk about self-care, in my interview with Dr. Mimms, I talked about it, like reframing it in this way of saying soul care, because I think when we say self, it has been conditioned in like a capitalist way, like in putting blame on us. Like we don't, because we are overwhelmed, we are overly burdened, we haven't done enough self-care. And I always say there isn't enough hours or massages or yoga practices that we can do that will say your self-care is fulfilled, right? And so I think about it in this way of soul care, because for Black women it has a deeper meaning. And I think historically and culturally, we've often been celebrated on how much we can carry, and how much we can give outward. And that care is not always reciprocated. And so, in order to change that for ourselves first and foremost, but also change it for our communities, we need to practice healing the soul first. And so, for me, it is truly about disrupting a narrative that we've been taught, the whole self-care idea, and to be able to say, what does my soul need today? And also my soul saying my humanity matters more than my productivity. And I think that celebrating or acknowledging our soul care, we always hear is like an act of resistance, the self-care is, but I think the soul care is truly an act of our liberation. And sometimes we say freedom and or liberation, and sometimes your liberation is not always free, and it's going to cost a little bit, and standing in your integrity perhaps. And so when we give ourselves permission to heal and connect with our souls, I think that continuously ripples throughout our families, our communities, and our generations after us. So.
Wow. Thank you so much. Soul care, that deeper meaning. Yeah. Dr. Diane, what do you have to add to this conversation about self-care? And tell us about yourself.
I feel like she took all the words out of my mouth.
Yes.
But hello everyone. My name is Dr. Diane Gaston, and I'm an educator as well as a coach. And my work really centers around navigating, helping people navigate themselves in conflict. A lot of my work also centers around self-care and also reframing what we think about what self-care is. Similar to the idea of soul care, that's exactly what it is, because there ain't enough bubble baths and spa days that can care for yourself outside of kind of like the just superficial way. Like when I think of self-care, I really think of intention. I think of how it is that I am addressing the needs that I need for, even if it's just for today. How do I get through today? How do I get through this week? How do I get through something that might personally be challenging for you that you're growing through? But I think self-care is really about, or you should incorporate more looking at self-care as something that is an intentional practice. One of the biggest self-care days for me is my birthday. And my birthday is one of those days that I don't really want to be around people. I don't want to turn up. I don't want to be at a group dinner. My day is my day. I can schedule lunches, dinner days around maybe like the week, or even I'm open the whole entire month. But for me, my birthday is a return to myself. It's a return to connection with my ancestors. Another practice of mine is really showing gratitude for just every day I wake up in the morning. So for me, even if self-care is those intentional 5 minutes that you gift yourself for that day, can truly change your mood, your energy, how it is that you go through that day. In regard to International Self-Care Day, I think Dr. Tiffany, you kind of mentioned, like, even if it's just a reminder that we got one day to intentionally set aside for ourselves, take it. For me, almost every day is self-care. Some aspect of my day has to incorporate self-care. But I think just having one day that the whole world, the global citizens can recognize that this is a day that I should set aside for me, or even if it is reminding others that, hey, today is International Self-Care Day, that's really a gift to yourself. And I really feel like we should start reframing self-care in ways that we've never really addressed or thought about before, and making it really more intentional.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. Rakita, you're shaking your head. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, before I introduce myself, I want to just say, Dr. Diane, you took the words right out of my mouth. Right? Like that keyword practice. I want to share what I think self-care is, or at least what it is for me. It is a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It is a practice that I commit to every single day that preserves and let's say preserves and allows me to thrive, right? Because I really do believe that when I thrive, when I am preserved, when I am fully resourced, I am able to support my family, my community, the world ultimately. And I think that Black women, period, right? Like when we have a practice that we are committed to, and not just us, the world, the community is committed to supporting the preservation and well resource of a Black woman, the world wins.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is what I think self-care is. It is that practice, that commitment to that practice. And in saying that, hi y'all, I'm Rakita.
Hi, Rakita.
I'm based here in New York, Brooklyn to be exact. But I am from the DC, Maryland area. So I kind of go between both. And my company is Hollis Street. And so what we do is center Black women. We offer opportunities and spaces for us to step into the room and figure it out if we need to figure it out, rest if we need to rest, celebrate all of who we are, and the people around you are also doing the same. Our experiences, whether it is a workshop, coaching, or retreats, which is like my favorite thing to do for us, it allows the opportunity for us to have that aha moment. Because I think when we have the space to do that, we can do anything. And so, that might be grand or a little naive of me, but I will believe that till the day that I die. And I will be speaking that to the world, because the world needs to also be in alignment with what Black women need to feel supported and thrive.
Yes, yes. I mean, I don't think that that's naive. I think that that's being radical, and that's challenging that narrative that a number of us have talked about, right? That like self-care for us is possible. Radical self-care is possible, right? And that we can dream that, and we can create those spaces. I mean, that's what we're doing here today. So that's not naive at all. It's necessary. It's critical. So thank you for that. Yeah. All right. Let's see here, Coach Prea. You're a financial coach, and so people don't always think about finances when we're talking about self-care. So tell us about you, and tell us about your thoughts about what this day means and what self-care is all about.
Yes, so many women leave finances out of the conversation when they think of self-care. So I'll get into that in just a minute. I am Prea Epps. I am the founder of Reframe Financial Coaching. And for me, I help women make the correlation between, being rich and being wealthy, because a lot of times they think it's the same thing, and it's not. And so I help them bust that myth, right? It's surviving, more than surviving, but actually thriving when it comes to money and building wealth with intention. So for me, self-care, I'll get a little personal. I love massages. And so if I am able to get a massage, I am in heaven. But when I explain self-care to my clients, I really want them to think holistically, as Dr. Tonia mentioned. So it's more than just your spiritual well-being, your physical well-being, your mental well-being. It's also your financial well-being. And what I want ladies to take away from this conversation today is that it's okay to say no. It's okay to set boundaries when it comes to your finances. A lot of time, us as Black women, we are doing better than the previous generation, and we take on that heavy burden of trying to bring everyone else along with us. And it's like, save yourself first. Put your oxygen mask on on first before you help anyone else. So I just want people to not associate self-care with being selfish, but actually being selfless.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I wanted to add something to Coach Prea, what you said. A lot of us do not think of self care in kind of like the financial kind of lens, but a lot of us get stressed out because of our finances. So, like, I know for me, it's like I got a lot of stuff coming on, kept me up last night, but nonetheless, it's for me, it's a reminder that, okay, this is only temporary. I got it. It might hurt for like a week and a half, but nonetheless, I'm gonna be okay. I've been through this time before, a time or two, a little too often, but nonetheless, I'm gonna get through it. So I think making that connection between our overall holistic wellness and tying how do we feel about our finances, our overall financial wellness and financial self-care really can do a lot to lessen some of the anxiety, lessen some of the stress that we kind of induce in our. So shout out to you.
Yes, and I'll just add that with the financial piece, sometimes we create our circumstances, right? We're active participants in the anxiety because of the way we spend, because of the people that we're trying to bring along. So once we become aware of the patterns that are holding us back, then we can absolutely begin to change.
Absolutely. I know for me, sometimes too, it's realizing I spent $50 this month at Dunkin' Donuts. I didn't need to. I got food in the refrigerator. I didn't have to do that. So for me, it can literally just be that the awareness of, all right, well, these are the choices that I made, and therefore let me just choose differently moving forward.
Right.
I can definitely, lessen the stress that we put on ourselves. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. I won't monopolize, but life is all about choices, right? And so we can actively choose different. We have that option. But a lot of times we get stuck and we think this is because we've been doing it this way for so long that we're unable to change.
Yeah. I think part of it, though, has to do with slowing down, right? Like so many of the women that I work with, we're just moving through life so quickly, right? All the expectations, all the roles and responsibilities, all the needs that we are responding to, that the idea of taking a moment to just pause and reflect on one, how we're doing, right? That end of itself is challenging, let alone, to Chioko's question about what is it that my soul needs, right? Like that's that second level. But if we don't take the time just to pause and breathe, Rakita and I were talking about that before, and that's one of my programs about just breathe. You can't even say the word without actually physically taking that breath, right? And so if anything could just like dial the notch down just a little bit on the stress and the busy and the constant movement, like I will take that, So pause, breathe, check in, and what is it, right, that my soul needs?
Yeah. And that's the challenge, right? Because for us, we're always on the move. We have been taught that we got to work really, really hard, that if I slow down, something bad is going to happen. The other shoe is going to drop. I can't take a minute for myself. I think about my mother in this all the time because she worked herself to death. I remember in high school watching her try to get herself dressed and get us out of the door while trying to navigate a herniated disc. I'm talking about severe pain, right? And it was just one of those things that has always stuck with me. And so that was my lesson, right? Like, I don't want my children to see me doubled over in pain and still pushing through. I want my children, I want the women around me to know that, like, actually, it is safe for you to slow down and rest. I think it's challenging, though, because the world tells us not to.
Right. Well, and thank you for sharing that, because in Prea you said something too about, not pulling people along sometimes. Like not everybody is meant to come with you. And there's that. And I think, in our families and our communities, we as Black women have been taught that you are the martyr or the matriarch, and your wins and your successes belong to the collective, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think as a collective we can heal collectively, but it does not mean that I have to share everything. I can help you get it, I can tell you what I've done, I can pull you in this way of like, but you have to show up and want it too. Like you have to be motivated as well. And so I was like, when you both were talking, I was like, even soul care looks like telling somebody that's working your last nerve, no matter who they are, you need to remove yourself from my face. Right? And there have been times where just recently I've had to say, oh, I know who they are, but I can't deal with this foolishness anymore. And just because I'm a therapist, just because I'm a healer, it does not mean that I'm responsible for pushing you to your own healing. And I get to say that this does not serve me anymore. And so I think creating boundaries around how people interact with you, because boundaries are not always, it's one of those sexy words. It's like boundaries, self-care, whatever. You could, like, I always laugh and say in my sessions, I could probably get toe back if I had a drinking game of how much I hear boundaries, self-care, narcissist, right? And so one of the things that, I think about is like the boundary, and the boundary is you implement them because it's protecting you. It's telling people that I love me and I love you, but I love me more. And I can do both simultaneously. And so, I hold so much space as a therapist that I never create the space for myself in a lot of times. And then people around me will be like, well, you're a therapist. And, they'll use you up. And so, I've had to create space for people who are in my life personally and say, I'm not dealing with your foolishness anymore. I don't care who you are, who you're married to, what you've brought to my life in the past. But at this point, I cannot do it anymore.
And that's really hard to do, right? For a lot of people, it's really hard to put those boundaries in place.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things Dr. Tiffany always says, and I say it as well, it's like building a muscle. So you're not going to get better at it unless you start utilizing that muscle. But for some people, it's really hard to set those boundaries.
Yeah. And it's rooted in who we are as people and being collectivist culture, right? Like if I were to say, I'm not dealing with your foolishness to a family member, now you think you're better than us.
Yes.
Now you have a couple degrees. So now like I've gotten that where it's like, okay. It's hard because it means that you might just be disconnected from people. But it also means I'm standing in my integrity. And sometimes when we stand in our integrity, it can create very, very uncomfortable situations. But at the end of the day, my integrity is all I have. And if I don't lead in with that, then what's going to happen to me?
And you're actually leading by example, right? Like, I think that's also a part of it. I think the more people see us leading by integrity, standing through our boundaries, saying no, even if the response is, oh, you think you're better than me. Oh, my favorite is, oh, you think you cute? But I think people need to see more of that. They need to hear us say no more often. No love, no loss. But like this is the example that we are setting.
I think this goes back to teaching people how to treat us. We don't do that enough. We're not socialized to do that because as Black women, we're often, it's been decided for us from when we're a little girl that we're here to serve and we're here to always be pleasant and kind, and we're always to be the one to give in or apologize first. But teaching people how to treat us and renegotiating relationships, I think, is a big thing that we must stand in and we must be adamant about. Even if it means that we look like a villain. That's my favorite word. I'm the villain in this story right now, and the main character. And so you have to learn how to deal with that. And not learning and learning not to take it personally. Like it's not a fatal flaw that I have when I decide that I'm no longer going to be available for your drama or for your mistreatment or any of those things that we have subjected ourselves to or been subjected to. So the teaching them how to treat you and renegotiating terms of the relationship. Those are two things I think that I'm gonna say all Black women need to embody so that they won't be consistently stressed out, crashing out, and forgetting themselves over and over and over again because that's just a disservice to us.
And if I can add, Dr.
Yeah,
Tiffany?
Go ahead, Dr. Tonia.
I wanted to add a little bit, and my apologies because I started first, but I am Dr. Tonia Burgess. I am a sound practitioner, owner of Soul Sound Sanctuary, and a Reiki master. But what I want to really address is that pain is a signal. And, oftentimes we ignore. I heard Rakita say how her mom worked at nauseum, with a herniated disc. And so pain is not a bad thing. It's a signal of information. And so in that self-care, it's like being honest about when you're overexhausted, when you have pain in your body, and getting to the root of that. Now you have awareness. So now you've acknowledged it. Now it's time to take action. Because, we'll always say, well, we can wait until tomorrow. Some things can't wait until tomorrow. We've seen numerous sisters just dropping and dying too early because their pain was signaling a deeper issue. And they're like, oh, but I got to do this, that, and the third. Being honest about that signal of pain, which is just information, brings you to an ability to be able to do something different.
Just to add to what Dr. Tonia is saying, I'm also a Reiki master too. And the intentionality of self-care is also checking in with your body to see what those discomforts are, what those aches, those pains are. I tend to have tight hips. And for me, I know practicing yoga, that's a correlation that I'm going on my emotions. So it's just what might I be struggling with at the moment. But when we check in with our bodies are a source of information. It's kind of like that book, The Body Keeps the Score. And if you think about it too, there's so much research coming out now about Black women and these autoimmune disease, lupus, all these things, because we carry so much, and it's because we've kind of been socially constructed to do so. We've always kind of been in survival mode. But we need to kind of change survival mode into, self-preservation. How do we now preserve ourselves in order to be the best for our community, for our family, friends, all of that? But I think we really need to start practicing intentionality of paying attention to our bodies. Because it's not just, we getting older, my knees hurt, it's about to rain. No. Maybe your knees hurt for another reason, right? Our bodies,
Hey now.
carrying too much, issues in our shoulders, something going on. So it's not just, we have to kind of think, what might the correlation be? What is my body trying to tell me? This is something else I should be looking at, as opposed to, I woke up, I went to sleep wrong, or I woke up kind of wrong, whatever the situation might be. But I think Dr. Tonia brought up a good point too, is that we also kind of have to start, using our body as a source of information, because there's so much research coming out now about the chronic diseases that Black women are now having. And, too, us, ending our time here, transitioning too soon because we never really took care of ourselves.
Yeah. And burnout rarely happens overnight. Right. I get people are like, I'm burnt out. And it's like, well, you knew you were burning out. Like and then starting to create like tips to identify burnout before it even gets to a place where it is disruptive, right, to your spirit. And so, that happens with a skipped meal and not setting those boundaries, or saying yes too many times when you should have told yourself no. And I think that part right, in itself, it disconnects us from ourselves. And, it shows up in this disconnection the way I see it. And it could be different for other people. But when I'm disconnected from myself, I show up more irritable. And I'm exhausted and I am resentful because now I'm blaming other people for putting me in the position of making a decision that I should have made for myself a long time ago. And I think for Black women, we are constantly surviving without restoration. And that's not normal and it shouldn't be normal. A lot of people, we get into this mode of surviving, but, we hear this all the time. It's like a little catchphrase now, but it's like, how do we truly thrive? And I think when we don't practice that soul care and building that habit and that muscle, we lose a sense of ourselves and we lose a sense of our identity, even the identity that we're trying to rewrite. And we were trying to rewrite our narratives. And I think that's what all of us have been doing, on our time here on Earth from the very beginning, is rewriting our narrative, even if we weren't put into that place of like you Chioko are going to rewrite your narrative, right? But I think we all probably have felt that, like we're different from the people around us. Like we're different in the way of we're doing things differently, we're marching to the beat of our own drum, but it's like, what is the impact of not caring for your soul?
So Chioko, you said something that resonated with me because you said we become resentful. And very recently, I had a situation where I started to become resentful. And it was not anything, well, they were doing it, but
yes, they were doing
but I didn't put those boundaries in place. And it got to the point where it was affecting my mood. And so sometimes we're scared to address the elephant in the room. And that goes back to what Samantha was saying about renegotiating relationships. We're afraid of what can happen if we stand up for ourselves. But it got to the point where I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. And it came out like that. So sometimes, ladies, we have to be a little bit softer. But it basically came out like, this is what it is. This is what I need. Take it or leave it. And it was just like a weight lifted off of me once I had that conversation. But again, that elephant in the room. So maybe Dr. Tiffany or Samantha, how do you get people to push past that fear if they have to renegotiate relationships?
Yeah. Before we get to that question, there's a comment in the chat that I don't want to disappear. Cassandra wrote, I have found it's a lot of unlearning of lies and conditioning that was placed on us as Black women and our enslaved ancestors. Thank you for pulling that up. The truth will really set you free, that we and our bodies are full of wisdom. I think that point is so important because what happens is, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is that we start to blame ourselves for the conditions that we find ourselves in, not realizing that there's a lot, not some, systemic, institutional, and historical realities that have impacted us and are still impacting us, right? Now, we know that our history did not begin, right? I'm here in the United States, did not begin here in the United States, that we have a deep, rich, amazing, powerful history, right? However, something very impactful and devastating happened, right, when we were brought here. And what were we brought here to do? We were brought here to work nonstop. Did you have needs? No, you have no need. You're not even a full person. You're not even a human. So to consider how you're feeling, what you're needing, how you're going to be treated, right? Do you have resources? Do you have access to anything? No, because you are property yourself. How are you going to own property? How are you going to build wealth? You are not a person who, right, is treated with that dignity and respect, right? So that was a real thing that happened in our history that we're still seeing playing out today, right? And so we have to, like we said, challenge that narrative, challenge what we've been taught, challenge how we've been conditioned. We have to remember our own humanity, right? Because we are still treating ourselves in that same way, that we don't deserve rest, right? That we have to work nonstop, that we don't deserve wealth, that we don't deserve experiences of happiness and joy and quality relationships, right? We have to tell ourselves that. We have to remind ourselves that we are worthy of self care, right? And that in practicing self care, I know that we are challenged with that word self because we are communal people, we are relational women, right? That is part of who we are too. That's not a bad thing. We don't want to get rid of that. I appreciate that about me, right? We wouldn't all be here in this space if we weren't relational people, right? But just because we pour into self does not mean it's at the exclusion of everybody else. In fact, it makes us all better and stronger together, which is who we were, right, before this experience of tearing us apart and tearing us down. So I just had to, I won't get into a lecture, but I just had to put that part out there because I think it's a critical part of this conversation.
Yeah, and I've
Dr.
always.
Oh, no, Samantha, no, go ahead.
I was going to say that we talked about the narrative and changing the narrative and how we must stop identifying with what other people have projected on and labeled us as.
Yes.
And until we're really able to do that and reclaim our identity, reshape it, completely turn it inside out, we're going to continue to be seen as and identify and answer to the names that they're calling us, the labels and the roles that they give us. So we must just kind of sit with that for a minute and say, okay, who am I? Am I all those things that people said I am, they call me, or the roles that they've projected on or pushed onto me? And as Black women with the history, as Dr. Tiffany has so eloquently said, we got to decide: am I going to? And I think this is really a sticking point for a lot of us because culturally we have been told we must show up this way, or we're not really a Black woman. We're not really for the community, and so we have that pressure to always show up as this stereotype that people have said that we are. And so, as we're trying to change the narrative, as we deciding to change the narrative and to change the story in our identity, it's going to bump up against what the culture is even saying. But we have to be brave. We have to find our courage if we want to maintain a life that's full and healthy and happy. When we literally we can enjoy it. Because I recognize for myself, I was so busy living the narrative of other people, I never knew how to enjoy myself and just really have fun, be happy, and just live and not live usefulness or to be utilized in some way. So yes, the strong Black woman narrative definitely dead in my in my life. And I just encourage every one of us to change the narrative, change the story. It's going to be a little painful for some people. They're going to be mad at us, but that's okay because we have to create this new narrative. I said Black women need a whole new PR team. We need a whole different way of being seen and showing up in life, the world, society, and just killing the whole strong Black woman narrative. Just dead that, as they say.
Yes, yes. See, I think Dr. Tonia, I think you were going to make a comment, and then I'd love to, if there are personal experiences, and if you were about, how you came to doing this work around self-care that might be really helpful for the listeners to hear, and then maybe now, what are some things that you do? What does self-care or soul care look like in your life? So think on that. I'm going to go to Dr. Tonia, and we'll keep going.
So Dr. Tiffany, thank you. When I was listening to your interview, something really resonated with me from it. And it was your choice of study in psychology. And you said that was a place where you felt seen and you felt like you were connected and that was something that you could study. And, one of our listeners, I think it was Cassandra, talked about the wisdom. And so I just want to say that there was a story that predates the story that we've been indoctrinated in, that's been embedded to us. So I feel like we had thousands of years where we were a royal priesthood. We were kings and queens. We were the blueprint. We are still the blueprint. Nobody's coming to save us. And so I'm standing in the embodiment of, we are embodying the restitution, the reclamation, the reparations, the repair. We are giving that back to ourselves, and we're standing in that today. And so I am grateful to be amongst such powerful women standing in our truth, regardless to what anybody says, because now we're not waiting for anybody to come save us. We are saving ourselves one truth at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. And as we as women come together, we become the collective power houses that we know we are. So I am just grateful for this moment of reclamation. That's what it feels like to me. And we are embodying it on today.
Mm. Wow.
Thank you.
My soul felt that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We all claim it. I think we all, in many ways, even though our lanes are crossing, but we are all in our own rights healers. And I feel like for me, ancestral, just generating ancestors to me has become a huge component of my life within the last maybe 5 years. And I think recalling that ancestral wisdom, I wake up knowing things and I don't even know how I know it. I'm waking up being called to certain things and it just feels right. And for me, whenever I sit in silence and meditation and prayer, I'm asking for that continued wisdom. Because I don't know everything, but for some reason, there are certain times I might know something, I might feel something, and I kind of go with that nudge. And I think for a lot of us too, we need to kind of get back to that because there was so much wisdom that the ancestors had, even in their times. So Dr. Tonia, when you talked about we are, kings and queens, yes, we were and we still are in our own rights, but we just have to recognize that and then teach other Black women, Black people within our community, BIPOC people, that we need to reclaim that and not be afraid of it and stand in it 10 toes deep. And also, I think in us owning that, we also allow other people to feel comfortable in that space too.
Yes.
Um, I love when I feel like the heart in spaces like this when it's like
Yes.
heavy, but in a good way. I agree with both of you, with all of you, honestly. I think it was a few years ago, I would say maybe like 2014, 2015. I think something happened. I think the shift really started years ago. And I'm glad and so grateful to be in this moment because I can see the dots being connected to this moment. I can see us getting closer and closer to remembering exactly who we are. And so that's a beautiful space to be in, right? I think the more that we continue to honor that and find the nuggets of inspiration to stand 10 toes down in it, we're going to be so closer. We're going to get much closer to who we were faster than anyone ever thought we could. I think that this is that moment to do that. And so that's really beautiful and exciting, right? Like I'm only 43, 44, one of those two. But I just, I just lost the last matriarch a year and a half ago, right? And so now I'm like, is it me, Lord? I'm not ready, right? Like I'm not ready for that. But I also recognize that all of the things, the preparation from it, the things that have been passed down. And so, yeah, I think that's also why I'm so passionate about us claiming all of our power because I have seen it happen. I saw the dots connect. I see it like the way I see us when I see Black women walk around. This might sound crazy, but I see like the little gold specks, right? Like I literally see that. I see the things shining off of us. And that is what feels so good and so exciting. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful to be in a space like this because it's just even more confirmation that we are exactly where we're supposed to be, even in the uncomfortableness of it all. It is extremely heavy for many of us now, but you have to burn down all of the, excuse my language, shit to get back to the power that we had. And so,
Y'all don't know me. You know I like the cussing. So I like a good cuss word. Dr. Mimms knows that. I'd be like, I'm waiting to say it so that I can jump in and say one too. So yes.
Real talk. Go ahead, Chioko.
Rakita, I agree. Like for me, there was a shift, right? But I've always felt different. And I've always felt that I've said it even when I wrote in the Soul Story Journal. Like I've always felt that I was just a different soul, right? And I think for me, one of you all have said such beautiful things, and one of you said like basically tapping into who you are and like being able to tap into these pockets of joy, but that takes for you to know who you are, right? And so I think about my life and even other people's ideas of joy. And like Dr. Diane, you said on my birthday, I like to just be by my damn self. Like I don't want to talk to nobody. Don't come over here. I don't need to don't sing happy birthday, the original version or the Stevie Wonder version. Just don't do nothing, right? And I am like, yes, I think I have always been that too. And so being able to, I would borrow from other people's things and I would realize I'm still miserable. I don't like I'm not a drinker. I'm not these things. Like that's not me. And I think as Black women, we spend a lot of time masking because it's safe and we have to. And that's that code switching. It's a lot of things. But then you take that and then a Black woman, i.e. me, who is on the spectrum, and there is like a different level of masking. But I recognize that in those pockets where I found those pieces of myself, truly, I've been the most happiest. And like I said, like when you identify those things about you and you stand in your integrity, it is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to cause a shift within you, which causes it's a ripple effect. So the people who knew when you were faking and masking, they are going to be like, "Oh, you've changed or you're different." But I had at certain point, I'm like, I'm 44 years old, right? At this point, I'm like, there's no other way I can be. I have to do this. I have to be me. And so I think within the last, like I said, it's been lifelong. And I was having a conversation with my brother and he's like, you've always been like hippie-ish and different and whatever, but I had to play a role. I couldn't ask questions about Christianity. I couldn't ask questions about other ways of being and other ways of connecting. But now that I have this renowned sense of freedom and liberation, it's like, well, who gets to run this? Is it me or these other people around me? And like most of you've had women in your family who have died too early. And the woman that I'm named after, my grandmother, her and I were like this, she died at 62. Had babies starting at 16, 17, and you die at 62. So you don't even get to explore your life. And, I've had women in my family in their early 60s dying of heart attacks. Where does that happen at? And so I got to this place where I'm like, I don't want that to be me. And I think I talked to Dr. Mimms one time where I'm like, I'm on a timeline. Like everybody in my family dies in the 60s. Like if I'm 40 years old, that means I only have 20 years left. And that's wild to think about that. So at this point, it's like, who do I need to be? Because if I have 20 years left, which no. But if I had 20 years left and I'm still masking and pretending to be something that other people have placed upon me, then what does that mean for my 20 years left? I'm just going to not stand in my own authenticity. What do I teach my son? So long story long, find your pockets.
I'll jump in here. I'll say that, growing up and having the childhood that I had, losing parents at a very early age and becoming an orphan, my identity was wrapped up in that particular incident, right? And so, people take you in, family take you in, they help raise you, but you never really feel like you belong because you don't have your parents. And so you just kind of be okay with being in the background and not making too many waves and, just being quiet. And so for a long time, that was me. And that served me well. That helped me survive. But it wasn't until I had surgery in 2025. And I had a friend, she planted the seed, but I was able to get still, like Dr. Tiffany said, and just really reflect on what I wanted going forward. And in that stillness, my coaching practice was birth. And so now I had to shed that old identity and I had to come out from behind the camera, so to say, and be at the forefront with this business. And it's been very uncomfortable, right? Because it's something that I'm not used to, but I wouldn't change a thing. So sometimes you have to go through things in order to get to where you truly belong.
Yes. Absolutely. I think everything that we've shared in this almost hour has been amazing, life changing. I think for anyone who is watching live or watch the replay, you're gonna get so many gems from this conversation. But I want to pivot a little bit and just do kind of like a quick roundtable of what your resource is in the bundle. Um, why you wanted to contribute it, kind of like a quick, 2 minutes, I guess, maybe 1 minute, so that people can know what to expect when they get the bundle. And I'm going to throw up a QR code where people can scan it. They can go to and sign up for the bundle and be able to download what you offer. So, who wants to go first?
I'll
Okay,
go.
Rakita.
I was like,
Okay,
I'll
sorry.
go. This has just been a amazingly beautiful conversation. I'm gonna try and make it quick. But Rakita, what you said, and Dr. Diane, what you said, there is a rise in the divine feminine. There is a frequency that is happening. And so that leads me to my resource and my offering. So in 2023, I went to South Africa and it changed me. The soil is different there. So that's just, my offering from my experience of I came back and I didn't want to be on the plantation anymore. And I really did not. And so after a lot of loss, I had experienced energy work and it led me to the sound practicing work. And we've all talked about how the body keeps score. And so I'm a sound practitioner now. I do sound baths generally monthly. So those are two of my offerings that are in the bundle. And we just don't know what needs to be released. And sometimes you come to that space and I just say, come and stay open. But I always started with intention because intention is powerful. Dr. Diane said that. And so I always believe that healing is there for whoever wants it. And I believe that we heal in community. So those are the offerings that I brought to this beautiful Black woman's wellness bundle. And I am so grateful for this space and opportunity. So thank you. Thank all of you ladies, but specifically Dr. Tiffany and Samantha, you have made this seamless. And I am just grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think our quiet is our souls, right? Our souls are marinating, right? Like that's what I feel. So full of just the energy and the power. And Samantha, you named it before we even started that this was going to happen, right? That when this group got together and started talking, there was going to be power, healing, and inspiration. And that is definitely what I'm experiencing. And that in and of itself is soul care, right? So my contribution to the bundle. So yeah, I too got to that point where the life that I was living was just out of control. It was just, and not in like a negative way in the sense that the things that I was doing, I didn't like. I actually liked quite a bit of what I was doing. Not all of it, I would say that, but a lot of it. And it just got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. And I had to make some different decisions about what I was doing, how much I was doing, who I was doing it for, right? Those important conversations. And so it's one thing for us to talk about what it is that we don't want, right? But we can get stuck there. And so we really need to find that shift to what is it that I do want, right? What is going to feel good and fulfilling and feed my soul? And so, what I've put together is, so one of my programs is Create Your Desired Life, right? So around that energy of what is it you truly want. And so I have the Reflect and Reclaim collection for everyone. And so the first part of it really is, I call it an assessment because I'm a nerd, but it really is a tool for you to slow down and reflect across multiple areas of your life to see where you're at. How are you doing? What's working well? What's not? What you might want to shift and, kind of put some time into. So it starts with that assessment. And then there's a guided journal and workbook to then, once you have this information, you're like, okay, what do I do with this? It helps you to kind of start writing about what it is that, you want to see different. So there's a lot of, prompts and questions for you to think that through. And then the last part of that little mini bundle is, so people often ask me, what are some of the books that you recommend to support, my wellness? And so instead of just telling people all the different books, I put together my list of 15 of the books that I have found really helpful in my life and I often recommend, to my clients. Again, I'm a nerd, and so books are actually quite meaningful for me. And when I've been in educational spaces where the majority of the curriculum didn't reflect me, when I found something that spoke to my experience, I grabbed onto it and continue to go back to those things again. So it's not just a book list, but it's something that has spoken to my soul across, right, the 20 years of my practice. So that's what I have contributed to the bundle.
I guess I'll go next. So my contribution to the bundle is a sacred reset for Black women who do too much. So SACRED is an acronym, S standing for Seek, Align, Connect, Reflect, Evolve, and Dedicate. And it's a 6-part audio series where I kind of walk you through the framework. So each of the different components of the SACRED framework is very, very reflective in order for you to kind of start building those practices to now self-correct, to self-restore. It was really an honor to put that together because not only am I instructing people on how to use that framework, but I also kind of did it on myself, using myself as kind of like a guinea pig and seeing how instrumental and helpful that might be. So when I sat down and I kind of mapped it out, I took myself through those own self care practices to just truly be able to connect with how other people would be able to go through it themselves. So I truly believe that once we kind of take on these intentional self restorative practices, this is when we can truly not only change our own lives, but the lives of our family, which can eventually lead to changing future generations. So it was such an honor to be part of this bundle. And I thank you, Samantha, as well as Dr. Mimms, for just, having the foresight to put together something like this because it is really needed in our community.
Okay.
So I was gonna
Go
say,
ahead. Go.
I guess I'll go next. So, finances and money mindset, that is my jam. So my contribution is a workbook as well, and it's called 5 Steps to Reframe Your Finances. And so this workbook really serves as the beginning point, the starting point to help you transform your relationship with your money. And a lot of times when people hear mindset is not necessarily a sexy word. They just want to get out of debt. They, want to pay off their credit cards, or they want X amount in the bank. But I want people or ladies to realize that it all begins with your mindset. So your perception of money and how you view money will absolutely shape how it comes into your life and how it leaves your life. Right. And so I want people, as they go through this particular workbook, and it was mentioned before, to go back to the person that they were before fear, shame, stress and survival started making your financial decisions. And again, thank you, Dr. Tiffany and Samantha, for putting this together, curating this self-care roundtable. It has been amazing.
I can go. The resource that I shared is called the Well Resourced Audit. And it is a very simple, quick questionnaire um, to really get you thinking, right? It's going to ask some questions that'll kind of make you go, oh, wait a minute. um, but also in that you get the offering and the opportunity to sit down and have a wellness check-in with me, because I think, we download all of these things and we learn to read them, or they sit on our shelves or something, and I want people to really be committed to their self-care. And so it's an opportunity to just have a conversation or sit in the uncomfortableness or come up with a plan together. And so that was my offer.
Chioko?
Chioko?
Okay. So I created my offering is the Soul Story Reset. It is a workbook as well, and it's a space for guided journal reflections and gentle self inquiry. So it's not harsh. You're not like getting to the scoop of it, and practical prompts for folks to identify where they are and what they need, and how they can begin taking these small gentle steps towards being who they want to be or who they are, like returning back. I think this is designed to not be about perfection, because perfection doesn't exist, but it's about coming home to yourself and identifying what home actually is. And so I just want people to pause and reflect on your stories, because we've been carrying a lot. We notice things all the time. I think all of us have been born with this innate sense of wisdom, but we've been taught over time to ignore it because that's woo-woo, or not of the Lord. So don't do that. And so I just want folks to just give compassion to themselves and remain curious. And so that's what my offering is designed to do.
Excellent. I think that's a great segue for what I'm actually offering. I am offering a spiritual self-care kind of reset. And it's for people who have grown up in or brought up in a very strict religious environment, or just a religious environment, period, who may be questioning the impact that upbringing has had on their self-care, their identity, etc. And so it's not an audit, but it's questions, it's prompts to help you re-examine the relationship that you have from a spiritual perspective, and some of the things that may be hindering your growth, your relationships with yourself, and giving you a framework to help you shift some things and shift the focus, shift your efforts, and bring you back home to yourself. So it's I keep saying financial, the spiritual self care audit. And I hope that you all will take a look at it and release yourself.
And so all together in the bundle, there are 12 of us that have contributed. So you see a smaller group of us here, and then we've got Cassandra Herbert, and we have Joy Allison that have been, dropping gems as well in the chat. But there's really a group of 12 of us that have contributed all of these, offerings and resources, all in the spirit of supporting Black women and self-care and supporting each other. And so, Samantha, one more time, how do people access the bundle?
They can go to the blackwomenselfcarebundle.com. You can also take a picture of the QR code on the screen right now, and I'll drop the link in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. And so it'll be available until the 31st. So folks have time to access that and take advantage of the offerings. All right. So should we close with maybe a final tip or word of wisdom from everyone in the group, if you'd like? Chioko. Fix your face.
I was like, I don't know if I have anything left. I just think that we all come from a story, and no matter what it is, it deserves attention. And sometimes we are fearful of what that story will unfold, but it deserves to be more than embedded in you. It deserves to be outward. And so I just think that our lives matter, of course, and we don't have to have it figured out, but we deserve to tell our stories. And I think that's how we get to the root of caring for our souls.
Beautiful.
I'll go next. I think for me, one thing that I want to leave with everybody is just a reminder that self-care really isn't selfish. We should really be looking at it as a priority, because I think that when we start to neglect self-care, we don't always see the cost of it immediately. It accumulates, right? It builds up, and then we crash out on other people. That leads to burnout. So self-care isn't selfish. It should become priority, and make it sacred. Make it something that you enjoy doing for yourself, for the betterment of yourself. So I'll leave it there.
So for me, I'll just encourage everyone to get still. A lot of times we are busy and we choose to stay busy because we don't want to face whatever it is we're going through. But there's power in pause. So just get still and figure out exactly what you want your life to look like.
I will say that you matter, and you deserve luxury and joy and pleasure and excitement, and happiness, and all of those things. And it is my prayer that we come to know that through and through.
And I will say, as I started, is to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and do not be afraid of the reflection that is looking back at you. It's either a message or it's information. Stand in the essence of who you are, which is your soul, and be truthful about it. And just go ahead and hug yourself in self-care, in self-love, and be all that you were created to be.
Yes. And I'll say that self-care is a practice and a journey. Right? So find regular ways, small and big, to practice self-care and to appreciate and enjoy the journey. It's never something that we have completed, right? It's an ongoing part of our lives.
And I'll say, just to kind of wrap things up, this is International Self-Care Awareness Day, and someone pointed out that it is July, which is month 7, 24. So it's a 24/7 endeavor, right? And I was just like, wow, that makes so much sense. And so it all starts with a decision that you make to make this a lifestyle. So I am wholeheartedly love self-care, but for me, self-devotion is the foundation on which self-care is built. And when we begin, and I think this has been part of that whole discussion today, it's about centering yourself, putting yourself first, making yourself the top of the list. And that centers you in self-devotion, because now you are the reason why you're doing this thing, not because you're trying to escape something or to please someone or to join into a group. No, this is really about you reconnecting with yourself every single day. So make a decision to make self-care a priority, yes, but make self-devotion the reason why self-care is a part of your life. And that's it.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here, for participating, both to the amazing women on the call, those in the chat, those listening. And with that, we're going to wrap up with an invitation for you to literally log off and go practice self-care.
Absolutely. Thank you all again so much, and we'll see you again next time. Hopefully, same time next year.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a self-care day.